Welcome back. Let's continue our discussion on factoring. Now, if you look at this question on a test, especially when you're constrained for time, it looks like it's something you won't be able to do and you actually feel it's going to take a lot of time. Well, partially the time it takes to do might be true, but the problem itself is not very hard, okay? It's asking which one of the following question, the choices cannot be reproduced into the expression given in the actual question, okay? So there's no other way other than you simply have to work each of these to get to the right answer. Now it says select all that apply. That means there may be more than one correct answer. So let's go from the base up, okay? So if you choose choice E, it's 12y squared equals 3 times, well, 13x plus 9, right? Times 13x minus 9. Okay. Now, you do not have to do a whole lot. Now, this, you can keep the 3 as it is, and it'll, if you multiply just this portion inside the bracket, it's 169 squared minus 81, because this represents, this right here represents a squared minus b squared. Okay. You do not actually have to multiply the 3 in because we're going to get rid of it really quick. Now, what if you multiply 3 on both sides? That means we end up with 4y squared equals 1 times 169 x squared minus 81, right? And that's exactly what the expression is. So this will return the original expression. So that cannot be the right answer. Let's take the second one, 2y squared over 13x plus 9, okay, equals, well, if you just subtract 14 minus 27, that's 13x minus 9, right? So 2y squared, actually it's 2y over squared, equals 13x minus 9 times 13x plus 9. If you multiply both sides by 13x plus 9, then you get this. This literally transforms into 4y squared times, this again is a squared minus b squared format, so it'll be 169x squared minus 81. So that also checks out, so that cannot be the right answer. Let's move to the third choice. Y equals square root of 338x squared minus 162 over 8. But whenever you have a square root and a term that doesn't have a square, it's best to actually square. Remember, our y is squared in the original expression. So if we take square on both sides, then this equation reduces down to this, right? Right? So it's 8y squared equals 338x squared. If you multiply both sides by 8, then we end up with this. Then if we divide both sides by 2, then we end up with 4y squared. What I'm saying is this divide by 2 on both sides, you end up with 169 squared minus 81. So that also returns the original expression. That's incorrect. I think you know B is correct because that looks just like the converted form of B. So that also checks out. So only A can be the correct answer. Now, the original question does not have select all that apply. I threw it in because most of you, when you're rushing to get the problems done, you just randomly select 2 choices, 3, because the psychology is you immediately think, well, if the question says select all that apply, then more likely there's more than one right answer. So you're forcing yourself to arrive at an answer that's never there. So I just tricked you in by asking select all that apply. There's only one correct answer, and that's A. All right, let's move to the second problem. All right, we've done quite a few like this, so hopefully what I also suggest you do is every time I put a question on the screen, if you sort of have a knowledge on how you would do, maybe you heard me say it before, then pause the video, work it out, and then continue playing the video, see if you got it right. If you absolutely have no clue or you're learning it for the first time, then yeah, continue watching. All right, so let's go ahead and solve this. So 4x cubed minus 16x, right? So 4x cubed is, well, if you first take the x out of the picture, okay, then that gives you into this format, okay? 4x squared times 16, right? Now, if you do take, say, 4 out of the picture, okay? That means it leaves you with x squared minus 4, right? Now, technically, this is correct. This choice right here is correct if the question says which ones are the correct ones, but they're asking you the factor, which means you have to keep going until you can't go any further. So, which means x squared minus 4 is same as writing x squared minus 2 squared, which means now this represents right here a squared minus b squared. You see that that's a recurring pattern. So it means x minus 2 times x plus 2. So that would be choice A. This is the correct answer. This is okay if they're not asking you to factor, if they just, or maybe they ask you what other ways this could be written, then that's a different story. But I wouldn't call this the right answer. It's this. A is the correct answer. Okay, because they're asking you to factor. Keep in mind, I guess this would eventually lead to, because you have to factor it to the lowest possible form. So that's why D is incorrect in that sense. Otherwise, it is sort of a semi-correct answer. Now, if you want to keep going further, this term is equal to 0. So x can be 0, x can be plus 2, x can be minus 2. Because 4x equals 0, x is 0, x minus 2 equals 0, x is plus 2, x plus 2 equals 0, x is minus 2. Okay, you're very familiar with this sort of problem. So let's write that down. X squared minus 5x plus 6. We want 6x squared, right? But we also want negative 5x. Typically, when you have 6 and 5 are what you are trying to get in terms of multiplied, which is 6, the next number is 5. It's only one difference. So normally it will be just 6 times 1. So it will be negative 6x times x will give you negative, or you could do it as plus 6x. Well, here's the problem. If you do this way, okay, you're going to get 6x squared, but there's no way in the world you're going to get negative 5x. If you put negative 6x to get negative 5x, but then you're not going to get the positive 6x squared. So this is where you have to go to the next possible option of figuring out how else am I going to get 6x squared. That would be from negative 3x times negative 2x will give you plus 6x squared. At the same time, if you add two negatives, you retain the negative, so you get negative 5x. So I substitute negative 3x minus 2x for the negative 5x. So it's x squared minus 3x minus 2x plus 6 equals 0. If we split it right here, and we take the x as a common factor, we get this, and we take negative 2. Because it's a positive term, it becomes a negative term, as we're taking a negative out of the bracket. So x minus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. X is plus 2 and plus 3. Does that make sense? So even here, I got carried away for a second, but then I realized that there's no way I would be able to get 6x squared and also satisfy the minus 5x. So even you might come across a situation where it's always going to be a straightforward, but then you realize, okay, there may be one more way I can do this. All right. So let's look at one more problem. Actually, I think there's only two. Let's go ahead and finish both of these in the same video. So here, when you have a problem like this and it's asking for values of x, you cannot simply say x plus 5 equals negative 2 or x plus 2 equals negative 2. That won't work, okay? So the way you do it is you first multiply this using the FOIL method, which we will discuss in the next video. But for now, let's go ahead and actually multiply this. So first you multiply the two the first terms, which is x times x, which is x squared, and then the two outer terms, which is x times 2, which is 2x, and then the two inner terms, which is 5 times x, and then the last two terms, which is 5 times 2, which is 10. So if you add these net, it becomes 7x plus 10. Now that equals to -2. So x squared plus 7x. If you add plus 2 on both sides, you get this as the expression. How do I get 12x squared? At the same time, I also get 4x. Now, the only way you would do it is 4x times 3x will give you 12x squared. That means 4x plus 3x equals 12x. That means I substitute this in place of 12x, which gives me x squared plus 4x plus 3x plus 12 equals 0. If I split it here and take the x as a common factor, then it's x plus 4. And I take 3 as a common factor, then it's x plus 4. I combine these two terms, x plus 3 times x plus 4 equals 0. So x can be -3 or -4. Simple, isn't it? All right, let's finish it off with the last one. When you have a problem like this, you can actually you can do 72 times 2. Well, why? You can reduce it further. If you divide the whole thing by 2, then it reduces x to x squared minus 9x minus 36 equals 0. Now we can work with -3x squared is what you want, but you also have to have -9x. So that means if you do -12x plus 3x, then you get -9x, but then you also multiply these and you get -3x squared. So I substitute -12x plus 3x for -9x, so it will be x squared minus 12x plus 3x minus 36 equals 0. So I split it right here. So it's x times x minus 12 plus 3x minus 12 equals 0. X plus 3 times x minus 12 equals 0. X equals -3 and 12. That's it. So we have completed the factoring topic. I will maybe come back later when I do a lot of the practice test and identify whether it's part of a factoring problem. And I can also give you more practice problems on the topic of factoring down the road. And if you liked the video and you learned something, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share the link with your friends and family members. All right, so stay tuned for the next topic on the SAT mathematics concept. All right, bye-bye.